Hi everyone, welcome to the Ask Dr. Lin show where I answer questions from bakers that appear on the comment sections in Bakerpedia. Many of you are watching this because you've probably done a search on Google and found us because we keep appearing on the first page of Google. So thank you for joining me today. I am Dr. Lin from Bakerpedia, the world's largest resource for technical baking information. Have a baking question? Bakerpedia it! Still haven't solved all your questions? Place any comments on the topics that you're researching on Bakerpedia and I'll do my best to answer them on the show. Well, bakers, in this episode, I will be answering questions on bread and cakes. Brioche is a wonderful, sweet, fluffy, buttery bread. In France, there are historically two types of brioche. The rich man's brioche, rich man's brioche, which is 3 parts flour to 2 parts butter, and the pain brioche, which is 4 parts flour to 1 part butter. Maybe they are going to call that the poor man's brioche. Traditional brioche is made of butter, milk, and eggs. Go to this page to get a basic formulation for a brioche, and you should be on your way to a wonderful loaf of brioche. Brioche is so aromatic because of the butter, eggs, high sugar, and long fermentation times. While many of us are so dialed into producing white bread and white bread products, inserting a bread like brioche into your product mix will not only cause havoc, but you'll never produce a high quality brioche if you don't follow these tips. The 5 tips for production of brioche are butter, eggs, osmotolerant yeast, processing conditions, and egg wash. Butter! Can you imagine using a rich, high-fat, solid butter and the aroma that comes from this type of butter? Use butter that has at least 72% solid fat. Why? Well, this way your dough doesn't become sticky when you mix it. A good quality butter can also stand up to the high-speed process and give you a high-quality product. Eggs. Do you know why most brioche formulas don't have vital wheat gluten? Well, mainly because of the eggs. The eggs in a brioche formula pumps up the functional protein so much that it affects the oven spring, the fluffiness, and the volume of the brioche. Most wholesale bakeries use liquid eggs from Tetra Paks, which really contributes to the eggy aroma. For industrial bakeries, well, separate liquid egg dispensing units has to be installed. So in many instances, since this requires additional capex, many industrial bakers will make the move from liquid to dry egg powder. This is due to the ease of dispensing. Go to our egg topic page to learn how to replace fresh eggs with egg powder. The downside of using egg powder would be a decrease in the eggy aroma. The benefits, though, outweighs the negative. Yes, egg powder is better at emulsification and foaming. Osmotolerant yeast. The sugar content of brioche formula is usually over 22% dry flour weight. Yes, 22%! Oh my God, this is really high. At this amount, it creates osmotic pressure and impedes fermentation by pulling water away from the yeast. Higher levels of yeast at about 7 to 10% will allow a reasonable shorter fermentation time. What? 7 to 10%? That's really high for yeast. So why not use an osmotolerant yeast? Osmotolerant yeast is unaffected by this high amount of sugar. You can use osmotolerant yeast at about 1 to 2%. Therefore, by using an osmotolerant yeast, you can control the cost of your formulation and improve the processing times. Egg wash. A shiny surface is quintessential to the brioche. How do traditional bakers do this? They take a raw egg, they beat it up, and they brush it on the surface of the bread before baking. While this is fine and dandy at the wholesale level, It is not welcome nor is it food safe at the industrial level. Firstly, spraying the bread pans with egg wash prior to baking will create residues on the pans, reducing their lifespan. Therefore, most bakers spray the egg wash after the oven and after the product has been depanned. To do this, an eggless egg wash is frequently used. Yes, you heard me, an eggless egg wash. How do you do that? Well, on this page, you can use the egg wash substitutes on the list to create an eggless egg wash. But if you're entirely not interested in doing this, reach out to our friends at Parados and click on their ad on this page to obtain a sample of their sunset glaze. Processing conditions. Remember, it's not only about the ingredients. Processing conditions are as important, and this is why. Since brioche is so high in butter, harsh processing temperatures would have to be omitted from your process. For example, dough mixing. Your final dough temperatures need to be closer to 75 degrees Fahrenheit than it is to 100 degrees Fahrenheit in many bakeries. What happens when you maintain a low final dough temperature? You keep the integrity of the fat crystals in there. When dough temperatures get too high, you will actually see the fat separate out from the dough. You want to prevent this by keeping the temperature of the dough way down low. Same with the proofer as well. Make sure that the proofer is closer to 85 degrees Fahrenheit so that the fat doesn't get separated from the product. Now, if you use a shortening product instead of butter, then this wouldn't be an issue. Lastly, watch for oven spring. With this much increase in protein content, the strength will give you a good pop in the oven. Remember, what goes up must come down during cooling. Therefore, your product will see some kind of wrinkling or collapse if you experience a huge oven spring. Therefore, check the thermal profile of your brioche and determine when each kill is at. You want to target a 45 to 47% yeast kill. This is so that you can nip that oven spring in its butt. Remember, I said no oven spring. So in summary, you should watch your mixing, proofing, and definitely your oven spring. All right? Sodium acid pyrophosphate, or SAPP, together with sodium bicarbonate is part of the double-acting baking powder. Yes, the kind you get off the supermarket shelf. So yes, it gives off bubbles or carbon dioxide, but it shouldn't give you the kind of quality issues that you are experiencing. In the field of bubble science, yes, this is actually a field of study, and no, I'm not kidding. Look up Helen Sersky. She's a bubble scientist. She knows all about bubble physics. Anyway, back to the field of bubble science. The stability of bubbles is affected mainly by its surface tension. Therefore, when surface tension is great, the bubbles will become unstable. Instability causes them to collapse and coalesce. When they coalesce, they become bigger and big bubbles naturally rise up to the top. So what would cause them to be unstable? What causes instability in batters? Improper emulsification, inadequate viscosity, improper processing, and the wrong temperature. Emulsification. Emulsification is the act of marrying two different interfaces, like air and water, or air and fat, or water and fat. Most macromolecules can't do this, and that is why you need an emulsifier. What's an emulsifier? Well, I can go all sciencey on you and talk about the hydrophobic and hydrophilic ends, but I'll make it easier on you. Think of the political climate right now, where there's the far left and the far right, and they just won't talk to each other. That is till the moderates come walking into the room. The moderates are like emulsifiers. They get people talking and working with each other. Without them, the environment will be unstable. So that's how I would like you to think of emulsifiers. Emulsifiers get the polar opposite molecules to work with each other, creating a stable environment that can keep the bubbles intact without coalescing. This page will go into the science of emulsifiers and give you more information on which emulsifier to use for your situation. I suggest looking into mono and diglycerides, PGMEs, polysorbates, or lecithin as emulsifiers for better solutions. Viscosity. The less viscous or the more watery your batter gets, the more unstable it will be. If you want to increase your viscosity, use a pre-gel wheat starch or something similar. Remember, viscosity and using the tools on this page to measure it is an important QA step. So please use it to control the property of your batter. One more thing, if you are working with a high ratio formula or a cake batter with a lot of sugar in it, it would be wise to choose a cake flour. All cake flour in the US are chlorinated, meaning that the starch granules have been modified for greater water absorption, increasing the viscosity of the batter during baking and stabilizing the system. Cake flour is your best friend, bakers. Processing. The processing of the batter prior to baking is important to its quality. If the batter is handled smoothly and properly, stability of the batter is not compromised. In addition, specific gravity of the batter needs to be strictly adhered to. You can refer to this page to look at the recommended specific gravities for different kinds of batter and how to measure it. You can also use an Oaks machine to help you regulate your specific gravity. So, watch your specific gravity, okay? Temperature. Depending on the type of oven you use, it's imperative that you get the internal temperature of the cake to 170 degrees Fahrenheit or 76 degrees Celsius as soon as possible. This is the temperature at which starch gelatinizes and bakes into products. And once this happens, the structure solidifies. The longer you hang out below this temperature, the more liquid and unstable your batter gets. Therefore, having a high heat front zone will help you bring the internal temperature high up enough to set the gel structure. There you have it. If you have an emulsifier, control your viscosity, adhere to your specific gravity, and control your temperature, you should be able to eliminate the large bubbles on the top of your layer cake. Alrighty, bakers, I hope I was able to answer some of your questions on brioche and cake today. Well, that's all I have time for today. Remember, if you have more questions after reading our topic pages, you can leave them on the comment section at the bottom of every page on Bakerpedia. My team will then get them to me. I love my job of answering all these questions, so keep them coming. But hey bakers, don't forget to check out our sponsor showcase on Bakerpedia. If you see our sponsors, thank them for bringing this information to you for free. Bakerpedia is a free and reliable baking resource because of our sponsors. Till the next time, bakers, have a question? Don't wait for another episode of Ask Dr. Lin. Just Bakerpedia it.